Hello everybody, welcome back. Ken Hertz here. This is The Joy of Mixing. So the last time we talked about compressors. We talked about the different types of compressors that there are. We talked about the different controls that each compressor has. And so what we are going to do now is we are going to apply compression to our track, kind of go through and look at the different elements of our mix here, and we will go ahead and apply compression sometimes to the track. We'll do parallel compression, and I'll talk about that. We'll do sidechain compression. We'll do series compression in series. So we'll go through a few things here just to give you a better idea of how you go about putting compression into your mix. We hear a lot about compression in mixing. YouTube videos, different videos you watch talk about compression. And so the point here is just to give you an idea of how these things are applied. So let's start off. We have the drum kit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command 2 here. Let's go ahead. First off, let's just take our kick and our snare. We're going to send this out to a bus. Let's go to bus 2. Should be over here. It's bus 2. Let's just call this here drum punch. Okay, so now one of the ways that we use compression in our mix is if we want the drums to maybe hit a little bit harder. And so how we do that, one way we can do that is we can send our kick and our snare, and I'm not worrying about this snare 100 hertz. I'm not even really focusing too much on the snare hits. I'll explain a little bit later why I'm not focusing on those, why I'm only really dealing with the kick and the snare here. So let's go ahead. We have our kick and our snare. I'm just going to solo these out and hit play. Okay, so we have our kick and our snare here. So what can we do? Well, compression-wise, let's go ahead. Let's just grab our good old 1176. Okay, now, so what do we want to do here? We want to get this needle going. Let me go ahead. I'm just going to highlight some area here and hit play. Okay, so basically what we have going on is we have our 1176. Let's see. Okay, we have about 5 dB worth of gain reduction. We have the output, so it's not too loud. We have the attack, not crazy fast. We don't want to kill the transient when the kick and snare hit. We don't want to kill the transient. We want to kind of emphasize the transient and compress what's happening just after the hits to kind of give us that punch. And of course, release here is set to fast, just so we want the compressor to compress the signal, come back off right away, be ready for that next hit. So that would be on our punch bus. Let me go ahead and hit play here. He's putting on the ball. And then I'll show you, let's take this, just mute this send here, our drum punch. And actually, we have to, because we don't want to do that, we want to do this. Okay, so this will be with our drum punch. And now this would be, I'm going to go ahead and mute the drum punch. This is without. So you can hear the difference there. You can definitely hear the kick and the snare are definitely really punching through that kit, which is exactly what we're going for there. I'm just curious to see if you wanted to, let's just say, well, maybe I just want to kind of go with something, just kind of a preset if I can find one. Let's see what Fat Drums does for us, if this is going to give us kind of the same thing. So yeah, we kind of found the same thing in a preset there, which is pretty nice. Sounds pretty good. So that would be drum punch. Now that's just one way we can use compression on our drum kit. A second way we could use compression would be to parallel compress the drum kit. So what do we mean by that? Basically what we want to do in parallel compression, whether it's drums, whether it's a vocal track, basically is we want to have our signal, our vocal signal or our drum signal, and then we want to have a exact same track, that exact same signal, except compressed, and we want to kind of tuck that underneath of our original signal, just to kind of in the case of drums, maybe give it some excitement, maybe in vocals, maybe just give a little bit of, just give it a little thickening up a little bit. And so I will show you how we go about doing that. We're going to leave our send here. I'm just going to mute it, our drum punch. We'll just leave that alone for a minute. We'll come back over here to send. We'll go to, let's call it drum crush. But, however, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the rest of our kit here and go to drum crush. Okay, so here's drum crush right here. It's going to be this guy right here. And now what we're going to do here, let's bring this up to 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up, let's go to Slate Digital. Let's go to Virtual Mix Rack. A good compressor for a drum crush track is going to be the old distressor here, and I'm using the Slate Digital version of this plugin. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. You can use whatever compressor you like. The 1176 is going to do a pretty good job at this as well. But what we're going to do here is we're going to set it on nuke. And I'm just curious to see if they're going to give us any kind of okay, doesn't look like it. All right, that's okay. So what we're going to do is we have this going to this here. Let's get this out of the way a second. Just going to bring this guy up about halfway. And bring this up about halfway. All right. Now let's go back to our kit here. I'm just going to hit play and kind of mess around with settings a little bit. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're hitting that compressor pretty hard. Right, so we're hitting this FG stress. We're hitting this thing pretty hard. We have our mix all the way to 100 because we're actually going to blend this in through the fader here. We're not actually going to blend it in using the plugin. So we're going to hit play again. So that would be, no signal coming through right now. So there you have it, just coming up underneath that drum track a little bit, and we can actually, let's try our good old pal here, 1176, just to kind of see. I'm going to drum squash. Let me just kind of give us a listen. Yeah, so you can hear the energy that just having that parallel drum crush, that hearing the energy that brings to this kit, it really does bring some energy here. So let me just play it for you again just so you can get an idea. Just kind of hear it in the whole song real quick.
He's putting on the ball and chain. He's a working man. Blood on his hands. He's a working man. Blood on his hands.
Yeah, so you can hear how big that kit sounds with our drum punch added in, with the drum crush added in. It really beefens up this kit, makes the kit sound more exciting, makes the kit sound a lot more punchier. And that's just two ways you can use compression on your, in your drum mix to get, like I said, a punchier, kind of more exciting sound out of your kit. Let's go to the lead vocal here real quick, just because I want to show you that you can also do this with your lead vocal. We can parallel compress our lead vocal just to kind of bring it up just a little bit underneath. Let's go to the bus here. We'll just take it to bus 3. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to just kind of bring over our 1176. And let's see here. Let's go to vocal limiter. And it's going to make sure we have our vocal here. I want to have a bunch of silence playing before the actual vocal comes up. Okay. So let's see. We're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to bring this 1176, this parallel compression, bring it underneath the vocal just a little bit, just enough to it's there, kind of adds a little bit of thickness, maybe a little bit of energy to the vocal track. That's what we want. So let's go ahead and shoot for that. See what we get here.
Wakes up to the sound of black. Weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain. He's a working man. Blood on his hand. He's a working man. Blood on his hand. Wakes up to the sound of black. Weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same.
So it does sound to me like it's adding a little bit of edge to the vocal. When I take it off, when I mute it, I'm not really hearing the edge as much anymore, just kind of losing a little bit of energy in the vocal track. I apologize. That is me singing, and doesn't sound the greatest, but just to give you an idea of what we're looking for here. Yeah, again, just the point, you can, if you over exaggerate this, it'll sound really bad. Let me just.
wakes up to the sound of black. Weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same.
You know, now you're getting a lot of sibilance. It's kind of too over the top. So you don't want to, when you have your parallel compression, it's not to you're not using it to match the same sort of balance that you have with your original track. It's more just to kind of add some energy underneath. When you think of parallel compression, when I think of parallel compression, I tend to use it in only in times when I want to add some energy underneath. Really, that's the point of doing that. So that is parallel compression. And again, just you have your track, you take your, you know, your track that you have your vocal on, or it could be that you have your drum bus on, or whatever. Just send that to a bus, pop a little compressor on there, and give that thing a little bit of energy. So that would be what we're talking about when we talk about parallel compression. So what other kinds of compression do we have? Well, we have serial compression, which let's go ahead and take a look at that now. With serial compression, it's kind of different. I'm going to go ahead and just going to say no send. No send to bus 3. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. We don't need the 1176 out there. Okay, so what are we talking about when we're talking about compressing in series? So we have our vocal here, right? Well, we know that if we were to go ahead and just drop, let me go back to universal audio. I'm just going to go and find here it is. Right, so we know if we just take, you know, this LA2A here, and we just start cranking away at it, it's going to sound distorted. It's not going to sound that great. Let me just kind of, it's also going to sound not very natural.
Wakes up to the sound of black. Weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain. He's a working man. Wakes up to the sound of black. Weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same.
So it's compressing. We're hearing a lot of breath in the vocal, a lot of sibilance in the vocal. It doesn't sound very natural. So one thing we can do with this is we can serial compress. So what are we trying to do with serial compression? Well, we want to compress the vocal, but we want it to sound as natural as possible. And so how we do that is I'm going to hit play.
Wakes up to the sound of black. Weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain.
So about 3 dB of gain reduction here from the LA2A plugin. So now what we'll do is, you know, that's you know, light compression. It's not, we're not going crazy with it. We're not trying to kill it or anything like that. That's light compression. So that's our LA2A here is going to be kind of doing most of the work, and then we're going to use in serial now the 1176 to kind of just catch the peaks, just to kind of when the vocal kind of overcomes the LA2A a little bit, the 1176 is going to come in and just take those high transients and knock them down a little bit. Let me hit play here and I'll just make some adjustments.
Wakes up to the sound of black, weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain. He's a working man, blood on his hand. He's a working man. Wakes up to the sound of black, weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain. He's a working man, blood on his hand.
So about 1.5 to sometimes 3 dB worth of gain reduction coming out of the 1176. And again, the whole point of serial compression is you want to compress the vocal, but you don't want one compressor doing all of the heavy lifting. You want to break it up amongst 2, maybe even sometimes 3 different compressors, so that you're getting your vocal balanced, but you're not it's not overkill. Let's go ahead and just hear this in the track real quick.
Wakes up to the sound of black, weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain. He's a working man, blood on his hand. He's a working man, blood on his hand. Wakes up to the sound of black, weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain.
So yeah, we have our compressed vocal. It's not overkill. It's not too much. It's just it's compressed, but we're like I said, divvying up that workload to more than one compressor. And one thing to keep in mind with compression, especially on a vocal track, is a lot of the times you'll find that you are the sibilance in the vocals kind of starts to come out more. And so one of the things you can do to kind of help with that is to just go ahead and throw a de-esser on there. And, putting a de-esser on before you hit compression is always a good idea. And then, once you have your EQ in the vocal and you have your compression in the vocal, then it's also maybe a good idea just to, at the end of your chain, just to de-ess again, just to kind of make up for any kind of sibilance that you might have gotten when you went to compress.
Wakes up to the sound of black, weight of the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain.
So again, just something to consider when you're doing your vocal is always a good idea if you have if you're a singer, if the S's and the T's are kind of sticking out already, it is a good idea before you hit the compressor just to go in and put a little de-essing on the vocal to help tame some of that sibilance. So that would be series compression. That's one way we can use series compression. Now another way we can use series compression is if we take our bass here, and I'm just going to go ahead and oops, let's go ahead. You know what? Maybe we make one more. I'm not going to get too crazy with EQ in this tutorial, but let's just go ahead and let's see here. We have our bass. We actually have 3 of the same bass tracks here. And what we can do is we'll do a little high pass in here, come up to about 80. Actually, no, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's just go here. Low pass, we'll take this out, come down to about 200. That's pretty good. Then we'll come down here, grab the old EQ. I pass at about the same frequency, about 200. Let's just go ahead and hear these two. Now what's nice about splitting up the EQ, you have one bass track with low end on the bass, another with high end on the bass. Why is that a good thing? Why is that important? Well, it does help you out a lot. Maybe you want more low end. Maybe you want more low end in your bass. Maybe you don't want as much low end in your bass. Maybe you want some more mids coming through your bass. Okay, so you can do these things, again, kind of getting into EQ, but you can do these things to really get a tight hold on your bass sound, getting that nice even low end. So let's talk about nice even low end. So I have my bass here. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my favorites for bass is Mr. LA2A here. One of my favorites for bass. Why? Well, because this is a slower compressor, and why that matters is because if you have a slow compressor, it's compressing the bass, but it's taking longer to release that bass, and so you want a nice even low end on your bass, and that's a good way to get that is to put a compressor like the LA2A on just the low end. Remember, this track only has up to 200 hertz on it. So just putting a nice slow compressor like this, doesn't have to be an LA2A. It could be whatever compressor you like. It could be any compressor that you're able to go ahead and adjust the attack and release on is going to do the job. I personally like the LA2A on bass. Well, I shouldn't say I like this particular plugin on bass. I use it a lot, but this by no means is the way you have to go. You don't have to go this way. So let me go ahead and hit play here. And I'm not killing it. I'm not killing it. I'm just giving myself just a nice little even low end, nothing crazy. Bring in the other bass here. So now, what if we come in here and now we're going to make sure that we have nice even tone. Again, I didn't kill the bass on my first compressor. That wasn't what I was trying to do. But now I have this serial compression, again, going back to serial compression here, to now crank up the ratio a little bit and just get that bass to be, just get that low end to be nice and even in the mix. And I'm just using a stock sort of Logic plug-in here. But now we have that low end with that nice even low end.
Wakes up to the sound of black. Where the world upon his back. Another day and it's all the same. He's putting on the ball and chain. He's a working man.
And so you can duplicate, I mean, we can literally just kind of go in here and we can move the compressors over to our bass track here.
Wakes up to the sound of black. He's a working man. Blood on his hands. Wakes up to the sound of black. Where the world upon.
And then let's say this has absolutely nothing to do with compression actually, but I just wanted to show you when it comes to bass and finding bass sounds and getting bass tones and that sort of thing, you can, now I'm just going to go back to Universal Audio here. You know, you can give yourself a nice little bass tone if you wanted to. then you can just kind of mess around here and find a bass tone that you like.
Blood on his head. He's a working man. Blood on his head. Wakes up to the sound of black. With the world upon his back.
So anyway, that is serial compression. That is how how you can use serial compression in your mix to, like I said, kind of break things up a little bit, give that workload that you want, that give that instrument, that voice, that whatever it may be that you want to compress, and break it up a little bit, especially if you plan on using heavy compression, but you don't want to really lose. You don't want it to sound like it's doing too much. You still want the integrity of the performance. You don't want it to be too saturated, but at the same time, you do want it to be compressed. Serial compression is a great way to go with that. And I'm actually going to swap out here and pull up a different session because I want to show you sidechain compression, and I have a great example for that. So let me go ahead, pull that session up, and I'll be right back. Okay, folks, we're here. We have our session, and I want to show you sidechain compression here. This is a really good track to kind of show you how I used sidechain compression. What we have is we have our vocal track here, and then we have these two guitars. This is like a DI and an amp guitar because I wanted a little bit more articulation out of this guitar. We have these two guitar tracks going into this bus track here. And on this bus track, I have a compressor. Now, so sidechain compression, what are we talking about here? So what we're doing is we have our lead vocal. Well, we have our compressor on the source we want to compress. So in this case, we have the compressor on our guitar, but we have the compression being triggered by the vocal track. And in Logic, what you do is you come up here to sidechain. We're going to do audio. And we're going to choose which audio track we want. In this case, it'll be the vocal track here. So now what we do is I'm going to go ahead and solo out the vocal track as well as the bus track, just so you can kind of hear what this sidechain compression is doing. And let me exaggerate it a little bit just so you can really hear it. Okay, so that's pretty exaggerated, but what we're trying to do here is we want that guitar lick. I want to be able to hear that guitar lick, but I don't want it to overpower the lead vocal track. So basically what's happening is the singer's singing into the mic. It's kind of ducking down the guitar just enough. Just get that guitar out of the way. I want it to be there, but I want the lead vocal to shine. So just the lead vocal track comes in, and the guitar just kind of slowly, or just kind of slightly ducks out of the way. And that was the reason why I chose sidechain compression. I like the guitar. I like what's happening in the track, I just didn't want it to compete with the lead vocal. And so to break that up nicely, I used sidechain compression. So now let's go ahead and put this into the track just so you can hear what I'm talking about. So that I will bleed for you, that vocal comes right to the front and pushes the guitar. It's actually called ducking, ducks the guitar out of the way just enough so that it's not competing. We don't want it to compete with the vocal. We just want it to kind of move out of the way. Let you hear it again. One more time here. So you can see how just sidechain compression used really modestly. We're not definitely not killing the signal at all. You heard what it sounded like when you overdo it. You can really just kind of, it can be more distracting than it can be helpful. So just something to keep in mind. Sidechain compression, you hear it a lot in EDM and techno music. Kind of that sucking kind of bass thumping sound that you hear in EDM is sidechain compression. Just you know, that compressor when that bass hits, just ducking the song out of the way a little bit and giving you that sucking kind of sound, that driving bass sound. So again, it can work great if you put it front and center. It can work great if you just kind of use it modestly and really can set your mix apart. So that is it, folks. That is the different ways you can use compression, how you can use compression in your mix. If you haven't watched the first video, Understanding Compression, I'd say go check that out. I just talk about different kinds of compressors and what the controls are. And then, yeah, how we use compression in a mix. So hope this video was helpful to you. I hope this little series was helpful to you. I know this is a long video, so thank you for sticking it out if you have. And as always, please leave any questions, any comments below. Let me know. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe. And until next time, folks, I will see you later. Happy mixing. Take care.